Dylan, if you want to explain the rules to the Nashville people, you want to explain the format to the Nashville people? Yeah, like right. No. To your. Watch out for all those wires. You want to put your bag down in that corner. Because you'll want to be doing this instead.
Such a difference having the bar on the side. What's that? Oh, yeah. They're turning up on the audio. We'll make it louder. We can't hear.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to Nashville, Tennessee. 76 degrees Fahrenheit, cloudy, muggy as could be is the forecast in the Music City. Good thing we're indoors today, inside the gorgeous, brand new Montgomery Bell Academy, the facility for the new high school squash program being headed up by Coach Dylan Cunningham in Nashville. And we have an outstanding matchup in store for you tonight. The Nashville Crushers take the court for the first time this season and will play host to the visiting 1-0 Atlanta Tornadoes. For Atlanta, a chance to clinch the South Division lies ahead, but in their way, a very strong Nashville team led by the number 3 overall pick in this year's NSL draft, Timmy Brownell. Hello, everyone. My name is Jackson Bragman, and we have a great matchup with big stakes on the line here tonight. As you just heard, both of these teams in complete control of their own destinies. Nashville has a little bit more work to do, though, because if they're able to pull off the win here tonight over Atlanta, they will head to the Derby City, Louisville, Kentucky, 2 weeks from yesterday, Friday, May the 17th, to take on the Colts, with an opportunity lying ahead for them to clinch the South Division if they can pick up those 2 wins against their divisional opponents. Atlanta just has to win this matchup, but it will be a tall task for the Tornadoes. Atlanta will not be at full strength tonight. They're without the number 1 overall pick in this year's NSL draft and world number 15, the gunslinger Yusuf Ibrahim. Ibrahim won man of the match for the Tornadoes a week ago, leading them to a commanding 4-0 victory over the Derby City Colts. Also out for Atlanta, in addition to Ibrahim, David Bayerjan, the number 41 in the world from Canada, and from Argentina, the Bullfrog, Jeremias Azania. Atlanta had to go to the waiver wire. It's a brand new look for the Atlanta Tornadoes this week. And in the place of Ibrahim, Azania, and Bayerjan, we have Luamba Chaleshi, the Grandmaster, Matthias Lacroix, and, of course, Andres Herrera, a.k.a. Pipe Herrera, as I've been informed by my Colombian friends. So it's a brand new looking team for Atlanta. Once again, a tall task, but they are looking to pull off an upset here tonight and clinch the South Division. And what does that mean? Clinching the South Division and winning your division here in the NSL books your ticket to the National Squash League Finals that will take place June 21st at the Arlen Specter U.S. Squash Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Make sure to head to the NSL website, nslsport.com, for more information on the NSL Finals and the upcoming NSL regular season matches. After tonight, we still have 3 more regular season matches leading up to the NSL Finals in the end of June. And as for the Nashville Crushers here tonight, a very strong team, almost at 100% full strength. We mentioned Timmy Brownell earlier, the number 3 overall pick in this year's NSL draft and league co-founder of the NSL. I've been very lucky to interview Timmy a number of times on my podcast, The Bragman Breakdown, a little shameless plug for the people out there. And Timmy and I have talked for many moons about this idea of squash being fun and team-oriented and the fans really getting into it and hearing raw reactions and receiving raw content and emotion from the players on the PSA World Tour. The PSA World Tour has a lot of characters and a lot of great individuals, and Timmy has taken this new concept of the NSL, and he's done an absolutely outstanding job of bringing it to life and providing a league where the world's finest take the stage in an exciting new format that we see here in the National Squash League. And we're going to get to the rules in just a second here. The rules are not the traditional rules that you will see on the Professional Squash World Tour or in the World Squash Federation. The NSL has mixed it up quite a bit when it comes to their format. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But before we do that, to round out the Nashville Crushers roster, in addition to Timmy, the 37th overall player in the world and the number 1 player from the United States, accompanying him will be Simon Herbert, the world number 55 from Leicester, England. Simon, a very attacking style player, and really has this kind of Egyptian attacking playing style. He does not play like a traditional Englishman, as you see him on court doing a little bit of ghosting, getting warmed up for tonight's matchup. And Simon, an outstanding young player at 22 years old, one of the youngest players in the National Squash League, a lot of promise, and once again already has broken into the world top 60, and I would imagine there's a very good chance that he could find himself in the world top 40 or certainly top 45 by the end of 2024. And finally, not for the Tornadoes, we already went through the Tornadoes roster, but for the Nashville Crushers, rounding things out, Ronald Palomino, El Pareso is his nickname. My friend, my amigo in Spanish. And El Pareso, the world number 145, the lowest ranked member of the Nashville Crushers. However, that ranking of 145 in the world, a bit deceiving, as he did get up to a world ranking of number 70 about a year and a half ago before rupturing his Achilles. Of course, a brutal injury, an 8-month recovery time for Palomino to get back on court after that injury, and he's trying to work his way back into the world top 100, and he does look like he's in the form to do it, playing some outstanding squash on the PSA World Tour this season, and here he is in Nashville, Tennessee, looking to help the Atlanta Tornadoes clinch the South Division, as we're moments away from getting things going here from Nashville, Tennessee. I mentioned earlier the NSL website. If you like any of the players that you're going to be watching here tonight, if you like any of the players participating in the NSL this season, and most importantly, if you like the wonderful logos that have been designed for the 6 teams partaking in the NSL this season, head to our website, nslsport.com, where you can purchase your favorite NSL player's jersey online. And folks, the jerseys not only look sick to begin with, however, a nice little thing that the NSL is doing is half of the money that you pay for those jerseys goes directly into the pocket of the player whose jersey you are purchasing. So if you want to support your favorite players on the Professional Squash World Tour, I think we can all agree that for as hard as these players work, they should be getting compensated a lot more for their efforts. So I think Timmy and Spencer, and who are obviously the 2 player co-founders of the NSL, as well as Commissioner Fernando Valdezan, are doing all they can to support these players financially and just in general, emotionally, mentally, doing the best that they can. So head over to nslsport.com. There's information on there about upcoming matches and upcoming events. You can start purchasing tickets for a lot of the events that are coming up here in the NSL. And we mentioned those teams in the South Division, the Derby City Colts playing in Louisville, Kentucky, playing at the Louisville Boat Club, and they'll be hosting the Nashville Crushers in a couple weeks here. But in addition to Nashville, in addition to Derby City, and in addition to Atlanta in the South Division, we also have the North Division, and the winners of the South and North Division will play in the NSL Finals come June 21st at the Arlen Specter Center. So on the North Division side, touching on some of those teams, we have the New York City Knights, who have yet to play in their first match of the NSL season. The New York City Knights will be taking the court in a couple weeks here in week 3 for their first match of the year. Augusta Sword, Matthias Knudsen, Rory Stewart, and then of course the college squash legend from Harvard, Sam Sherrill. So that's a very fun, very exciting team out in New York. And then moving to the other teams in the North Division, last night we had our first matchup featuring North Division teams, and I'm going to tell you about that in just a second. But here is the head pro at Montgomery Bell Academy, Dylan Cunningham, introducing the players.
Just watch out for this night.
And one of our first initiatives is to have a professional squash team. So the National Squash League started this year. Team format, really exciting. Should be pretty high action. Most of you have probably not seen a pro squash match. This squash is brand new down here, but those are pretty quiet. You're welcome to be as loud as you want. Like Mac, start making those thunder sticks together. If you guys need your own, they're
and Tim. Clean dap up, Mr. Cunningham. Saunters over for introductions. So you heard a little bit about it there from Mr. Cunningham, but I'm going to fill you guys in on the rest of the rules for the National Squash League. If this is your first time watching NSL action, first of all, have you been living under a rock? Where have you been? However, I will placate to the new audience for just a moment here as we introduce the new rule set that has been invented by the NSL this season as we're getting ready for match number 3. Of course, this is the fourth match that I'm calling this season after calling the Team World versus Team USA exhibition match that took place during the NSL draft weekend in Nashville a couple of months ago here. And of course, we've had one matchup in the North Division, one matchup in the South Division. This is our second South Division matchup with both of these teams looking to find themselves in Philly for the NSL Finals in a few short weeks. June 21st, mark your calendars. But in regards to the rules, we're still playing squash. We still have the same way that you win or score a point. If you can force your opponent to make an error, if you can force your opponent to hit the tin, hit the ball out, of course, you win 1 point. It's the same, double bounces. We're playing squash here. The rules of the game are the same. However, the scoring and the format is a little bit different. Instead of a target score of 11 points per game and a match comprising the best 3 out of 5 games, instead we have a timer. So these teams are playing up against a clock. They're not playing to a certain target score, but instead they're playing with a certain amount of time on the clock. They're going to try to accumulate as many points as they can in that given time and outscore their opponents for each period. So the first 2 periods worth 20 minutes apiece. The third period worth 30 minutes. And as Dylan stated, the first 2 periods worth 1 point. And the third period, which is obviously 50% longer, worth an extra point, worth 2 points. So even if a team falls down 2-0, they can still fight their way back in the third period to draw things even and force a sudden death overtime period, which will last 5 minutes. As here's the first serve, Timmy Brownell doing battle with Luamba Chaleshi, the Kiwi doing battle with the American, and Timmy draws first blood, taking point number 1. A lot of funky rules here in the NSL. We'll kind of take them as they come. Each team with 2 substitutions per period and 1 power play per period. Of course, in the third and final period, each team's got an extra substitution and an extra power play. So 3 substitutions and 2 power plays per team in the third period. And once again, we will attack those concepts as they come. But we're all knotted up at 1 point apiece here early in period number 1. As a drop shot that I thought looked absolutely gorgeous, but it just clipped the top of the tin for Chaleshi. Luamba Chaleshi, world number 122, representing New Zealand. There's another error from him. The 25-year-old, standing at 5'10" or 182 centimeters, depending on your metric of measurement. Actually has a younger brother on tour, Temwa. Temwa ranked 3 spots higher than Luamba at 119 in the world. A little sibling rivalry. And here he is against the U.S. number 1, the world number 37. League founder Timmy Brownell, a man with Many hours and much investment poured into the National Squash League. Great to see his dream, along with Spencer Lovejoy's, coming to fruition here. And Timmy building up a lead quickly and early here in period number 1, has claimed 4 of the first 5 points. Looking to keep things rolling here for the Crushers. Timmy's so tactically strong. Such great shot selection. Moves his opponents corner to corner. Not a freak athlete by any means, but just such a smart player. Such a grinder. That's led him to top 40 ranking in the world. He will be participating in the PSA World Championships next week from Cairo, Egypt. And that's pretty from Timmy. Absolutely feathered that drop shot in front left-hand corner. Front right-hand corner, excuse me. Threw me off a little bit because that side, Timmy's backhand. Of course, he's a lefty, always just a little bit trickier to adjust to playing a left-handed player. And Luamba needed that point badly. Rare error from Brownell. Major cut on that backhand volley drop shot from Brownell. Timmy a little bit out of position. Luamba, a little pat apology, but it's a great shot, great awareness for the Kiwi. It's 2 points in a row for him, looking to draw back even. Timmy never one to shy away from angles. And we've seen it twice, that rally on the backhand from the midcourt. That little trickle boast that he loves to put in. And there's a nifty serve going behind the back of Shaleshi. So creative out there on court. And another error from Luamba. He has got to keep the ball above the tin here. Sends Brownell the wrong way there, though. Let's see if he can use that momentum in his favor. Once again, loose from Brownell. Shaleshi using angles, weight of shot to put that ball away in the back right corner. There's the boast from Luamba, who appeals, and that's wonderful from Timmy. Excellent show of sportsmanship. Conceding the double bounce. That ball hit right back at Shaleshi. Will be a stroke in favor of Brownell. Nashville back up 2. Both these teams perhaps beginning to think about a impending substitution in the coming minutes as Brownell makes an error, and right on cue, little announcer's jinx for you there. Here comes Ronald Palomino. The world number 145. It's been as high as 70 in the world, as we mentioned pre-game. unfortunately suffered a ruptured Achilles in the latter part of 2022. Out of action for 8 months and slowly working his way back up the world rankings. From Cali, Colombia. Same hometown of my teammate here at Denison University, Juan Felipe Hernandez. A little shout out for my friend Juanfe. As there's the first error of the evening for Palomino. Pace has certainly picked up here in the last couple minutes since Ronald's checked on. That ball coming off the back glass. And Ronald not happy about that. See how he responds. See if it seems a little bouncy around the tee there, a little fired up perhaps. It's an error from Chaleshi. Have to imagine a substitution will be coming soon. However, he doesn't look too fatigued. He looks relatively fresh at this juncture. And here comes the first substitution for Atlanta. So once again, as we mentioned, 2 substitutions per team per period. And Atlanta, despite being major underdogs here tonight, Atlanta not even close to full strength, had to go to the waiver wire to pick up all of these guys, including the man who's just taken the court, Matias Lacroix from Santiago, Chile. But Atlanta hanging in there. Only 2 points off the lead, and after a long rally, Matias makes the error. And that's unforced from Palomino. Lacroix says, "Thank you very much." Matias Lacroix, the lowest ranked player in this matchup, world number 262, but as far as I've heard, training his butt off in Greenwich, Connecticut right now, looking to make a push up the rankings, has really honed in on his training. Don't be surprised if you see Matias Lacroix finding his way into the top 100 in the next year or two of the PSA World Rankings. 25-year-old sporting number 15 on his jersey, doing battle with his fellow South American. Ronald beginning to pull away here for the Crushers in period number 1. Atlanta clearly not the favorites here tonight. They would love to stun Nashville by taking the first period, and Simon Herbert waiting patiently to check in here for the Nashville Crushers as we are witnessing Nashville starting to pull away here, up 5 now with just over 8 minutes to go in the first period, and that's a pretty leaping backhand volley, Nick. The flick of the wrist from Lacroix. And this could be the beginning of a heat check, much needed heat check by Atlanta. And here we go. We have a Nashville power play, folks. This is the first power play of the match, and there is the Colombian, an Atlanta power play. So here's how the power play works, folks. 2 minutes where Atlanta is the only team that can score. Since Atlanta has called power play, the Colombian for Nashville, Ronald Palomino, cannot score. No substitutions by either team are allowed to be made during these 2 minutes. Atlanta wants to win as many points as they can in this 2-minute period. Notice that Ronald has won these last 3 points, yet Nashville has not been credited with any points on the scoreboard. Only Atlanta can score here. If you're Lacroix, you want to shoot, you want to win points as fast as you can, because if you hit the tin, it doesn't matter, and that ball is out of court. Someone stop the clock. Someone pause things up to get the ball back in play, and here we go, back at it. So Atlanta's going to want to go fast. If Lacroix makes an error here, it doesn't matter. Nashville won't get any points. And the power play has come to a conclusion. A little taste of the fast-paced action that the power play offers you here, folks. A little bit of confusion as to when that power play started. My apologies, and bringing you the most up-to-date analysis. And here comes Simon Herbert. It's all happening, folks. I'm without my good friend and co-commentator Sean Choi here tonight, so I'm trying to do everything on my own here, trying to keep up with the fast-paced NSL action that we are playing witness to. And here comes a double substitution. Simon Herbert from Leicester, England. Andres Pipe Herrera from Bogota, Colombia. Herrera, lefty. Obviously, Bogota, by far the biggest hotbed for squash in Colombia. Home to the likes of Miguel Rodriguez, as well as the NSL's very own Juan Camilo Vargas and Matias Knudsen, among many other top world-class players. And Andres scores the first point of period number 2. Pipe, as he's better known, checking in, looking to help the Tornadoes clinch the South Division here tonight. And here comes Nashville on the power play, already up 2 points, and they're looking to pile on more. So now Simon Herbert, the only player on court able to tack on points to his score. Simon Herbert, an incredibly attacking player, so it's a wise decision to wait for Herbert to check on before Nashville called the power play. His specialty are definitely his hands and his ability to attack and take the ball in short. The 22-year-old looking to do some damage here. He can go low above the tin. He can attack, because if he is to make an error, it won't matter. He will not have a point scored against him. He is the only one that can score. Trying to really drive home that point on the power play. And Herbert with a 3-ball. And he's getting the crowd engaged here tonight. That 3-wall boast, so difficult and tricky to pick up. He's prone to take a funky bounce. He's gone for it again, and he's gone for a nick. And he appeals for the double bounce. It is given. And Simon Herbert is rolling for the Nashville Crushers, who have taken a 6-point lead with 4 minutes to go in period number 1. Lacroix responds with a beautiful shot. It's a shame he won't be accredited a point. There's a stroke for the man from Santiago, and that is the conclusion of the power play. We have 3.5 minutes here of just squash to determine the winner here, and the clock has become a factor for Lacroix, and look at that nick slotted perfectly by Herbert. He is feeling it here tonight. Call him Dion Waiters because he's on a heat check right now. Lacroix's got to go quick, but with the form Simon Herbert's in, I cannot imagine him making up 5 points in just over 3 minutes here. There's a stroke. He's got 1. Wipes his hand. He's got to get moving here. Vamos, says Atlanta head coach Celia Pashley, and there's 2. 3 points off the lead now. An error. 3 quick points for the Chilean. Scoreboard difficulties right now as that ball is absolutely glued to the sidewall from Herbert. A pretty kill on the right-hand side. Gives Nashville a little bit of extra breathing room. Just a tricky bounce there on that shot by Lacroix. Tough for Herbert to get around. This period far from over. 2 minutes and 6 seconds to go. In period number 1, once again, scoreboard a little bit off. As far as I understand, Atlanta 3 points off the lead. And we'll see if the Chilean makes some magic happen here tonight. There's the error, and that is a point for Herrera. My apologies, excuse me. Lacroix checked off for Atlanta a few moments ago. Of course, me getting the 2 South Americans mixed up. It's a goof on my end. Pipe Herrera spearheading this comeback for the Atlanta Tornadoes. But it might be just too little too late. 50 seconds to go. That's an excellent lunge from Simon Herbert. Nashville can taste this first period coming home to the home team. And Atlanta, already underdogs coming in, is going to have some major work to do. They had their moments in this first period. They hung around with the Crushers. It was not a blowout by any stretch. There's the error from Herrera. Pipe in great form right now. Actually picked up 2 huge wins last week over the NSL's very own Spencer Lovejoy and Matthias Knudsen in the Bermuda Open. Now here he is in Nashville. About to close out period number 1, and this will be the final point of the first period of action. These 2 players playing this rally out just as a formality, and Herrera's won it. Unless my clock is incorrect. It looks like we have about 13 seconds to play here. There's another rally for the Colombian. Herbert's going behind the back on that serve return. Jazzy playing style. Doesn't matter. Convincing win there. for the Nashville Crushers, but not a blowout. Atlanta, some work to do. Head coach for the Tornadoes, Celia Pashley, will talk things over with her team and see what can be done. So Nashville claiming the first point. Doing the best we can here tonight. The NSL experimenting with some new technology provided by the PSA and Squash TV. Huge thank you to Squash TV. Some new artificial intelligence technology that we're test driving here tonight. So naturally there will be some hiccups. We thank you for bearing with us. And then of course on the commentary side, my compadre, my companion in the squash podcasting world, as well as now this season the squash commentary world, Sean Choi, not able to make it here for tonight's action, but he will be on the call in a couple weeks from the Derby City, so don't you worry, folks. We will hear Sean's beautiful voice once again. Sean, we miss you greatly and dearly if you're out there viewing our broadcast, and but we soldier on without you, doing the best we can. And there is Dylan Cunningham talking things over with his team, former standout player at Franklin and Marshall in his own right, an All-American for the Diplomats. Brief stint on the PSA professional tour before retiring to go into coaching. Spent some time as an assistant coach across the world of college squash. Coached under John White, the former world #1 at Drexel University. And recently took on the task of growing squash in the southern states of the U.S. here in Nashville with this brand new 3-court facility at Montgomery Bell Academy. Looking to turn Montgomery Bell into a powerhouse in the high school squash scene. And we need global growth of squash as well as domestic growth within the United States. Obviously on the East Coast in New England, squash booming, squash relatively big. But in areas like the southern states, in areas like the Midwest, there's a presence of squash, but it's not as big as it could be. Of course, out on the West Coast, a little bit of action there as well, especially in the Bay Area, San Francisco. But the real hotbed of squash within the U.S., of course, the East Coast, most prominently in Philadelphia, where you've got dozens and dozens of squash courts within just a few blocks of one another between the Penn Squash Center, the Drexel Squash Center, and then, of course, the Arlen Specter Center, which is on Drexel University's campus, actually. And it will be the site of the NSL Finals June 21st, where the winners of the North and South Division will square off to decide the first ever National Squash League champions. Of course, the NSL and U.S. Squash inking a big-time partnership last week. Huge things ahead for the NSL as we are nearing the midway point of its inaugural season. In the midst of match number 3 of 6 of the regular season, we'll of course cap things all off with the finals in just over 6 weeks. What will it be? 7 weeks from 7 weeks from today, actually, I think, we'll be in Philadelphia. Nashville up 1-0. Can they tack on a second point here in period number 2? Or will Atlanta respond? Palomino quick to score point number 1 for the Crushers. Great serve. And forced a loose return there from Lacroix. Lacroix looked to volley that, couldn't. It was too tight to the sidewall and kind of popped up a ball at the midcourt. Palomino put it away on the volley. Long reaching wingspan for the man from Bogota. Make that 3-0. Nashville up 4-0 in a matter of 80 seconds. Ronald Palomino doing damage and doing it early, showing why Nashville, despite his world ranking, took a shot on him in the 4th round of this year's NSL draft. They know what Palomino is capable of, once again at his peak. Highest world ranking of 70 before rupturing his Achilles about a year and a half ago. Lacroix sending Palomino the wrong way, though, that time. Let's see if this is the start of a little run for the Chilean representing the Atlanta Tornadoes. Atlanta already 1-0 on the season, looking to clinch the South Division here tonight. However, not even close to at full strength. Meanwhile, Nashville, playing their first match of the year, hungry to get a win on the board to start off their season. No let decision given. Lacroix not happy about it. Perhaps it was a yes let as the score has not changed. Can't quite see the referee. And Lacroix, regardless, appealing the decision. That ball did sit up just a smidge. I think probably a yes let is a reasonable call, and it looks like, nope, it was a no let, given that Nashville has a point added there. I think perhaps a harsh call. I think Lacroix is capable of getting that ball. A great dig there in the front right corner from Lacroix, but he guesses Cross and Palomino using his spidey senses to straighten that ball out, dying in the back right corner, and Palomino back out on top, winning 6 of the first 7 points. Make that 7 of 8 to open up period number 2. Nashville now completely in the driver's seat here in the second period. It's a completely unforced error from Lacroix. Palomino just laying it on here, completely controlling these rallies. He's holding the tee beautifully. Working Lacroix corner. Look at that drop shot. With Lacroix behind the service box, frankly, on the right-hand side. Palomino playing through that. He could have had a stroke, but he plays it and can't get through the Chilean. It's point number 2 for Atlanta. And what is going on with Matthias Lacroix? Not able to keep the ball above the tin in the early going here of period number 2. And Atlanta really has to start thinking about a substitution, despite only being 4.5 minutes in to the second period. Already down 11-2. There's Ronaldo again. And you know, we saw this strategy, as Sean Choi pointed out on the broadcast last night, between the Newport Dragons and the Chicago Grizzlies. After winning period number 1, it appeared Chicago, in a way, kind of threw that second period away a little bit and gave it their all in period number 3. We could be seeing something a little bit similar from the Tornadoes here, as that's a massive double bounce. I'm glad to see Lacroix conceding that. Wonderful sportsmanship on display. But he just doesn't really seem to have that fire in his eyes right now. He doesn't seem to have the energy and the power in his legs. And Palomino, once again, really using his long wingspan to volley and dictate traffic here. Holding far more control of the tee in the early going of the second frame here. But we could be witnessing Atlanta maybe conceding the second period a little bit in a way and kind of just resting their legs and making sure that they're ready to go for the all-important third period, where even if Atlanta falls down 2-0, they can win period number 3 and force a 5-minute sudden death overtime period to determine the winner of the match. And here comes the first substitution for both teams. As to open up the second period, we just played witness to the lowest ranked player for Atlanta taking on the lowest ranked player for Nashville. Here is the highest ranked player for Atlanta taking on the highest ranked player for Nashville. Timmy Brownell, world number 37, versus Pipe Hernandez, the world number 112, stepping in off waivers for a short-handed Atlanta Tornadoes team. And that is a beautiful nick from Pipe Herrera, but he turns around and makes a quick error to follow it up. Hernandez shooting here early. He got one on the first point, but 2 quick errors. He's trying to make it all up at once for the Tornadoes. You can see a change in the pace here. He's got a little more juice in that first step than his Chilean teammate did. And we're now witnessing a little bit higher of a pace of squish. And look at this furious action. Timmy. Oh, and another error. The third tin in a row for Herrera, but not before an exciting rally. And Atlanta on the power play. Not quite sure when the power play began. I believe it was, frankly, as soon as Herrera checked in, and that would explain why he's playing at such a furious style right now. So if you're Brownell, you really just want to extend these rallies. If Timmy slots a beautiful nick here, it won't matter. He won't get anything out of it. So he just wants to extend. All that matters is that Atlanta doesn't score. I always say, if you're defending the power play, I'd rather lose 2 absolute belting rallies than lose 4 and win 4. Because even if you end up winning as many or more points than your opponent, it does not matter. You just want to minimize the number of points that you're losing. And there's Timmy, and that power play largely ineffective for the Tornadoes. Atlanta now down 10 points here in the second period. Nashville still has a power play in their back pocket. An 11-point lead for the Crushers with 11 minutes to go in period number 2, and a 2-minute power play still at their disposal. It looks like Atlanta's going to have to regroup. And they're going to have everything to play for in the third period, trying to tie things up and force overtime, because I don't see Nashville relenting this lead. Timmy Brownell. He says, put the pistol back on my belt. Timmy feeling himself right now. I've had the opportunity to hold Timmy's racket before. Light as a feather. Don't know how he can play with that, but it explains how he has such soft hands on court. Timmy, great as he describes it, Techers technique for the former Harvard Crimson standout. Spent 4 years under Mike Way. I was a part of quite probably the greatest college squash team of all time. Timmy, believe it or not, for Harvard his senior year, played number 6. And that wasn't because Timmy was injured or he was in a slump or he wasn't playing his best squash. That's just how good that Harvard team was. Teammates at the time with Victor Kruin, Marwan Tarek, Sam Sherrill, George Crown, who I believe at the time was a bit younger than Timmy, played 7 right behind him. The Canadian. Just an absolutely stacked team. Obviously learned a lot in his time at Harvard. On the court and in the classroom, and he's laying it on thick here for the Crushers as we have crossed the halfway point of period number 2 here from Nashville, and it's been all Crushers so far. Another error from the Tornadoes. And this is getting ugly, folks. It's got to be demoralizing for Herrera, playing some textbook squash, long rallies, but Timmy just reads his opponent so well. He's able to come out on top. Timmy's life flashing before his eyes there. Herrera calling for the let. Timmy says, yeah, it's absolutely a let. He appreciates the gesture of Herrera not taking his head off. Both of these players, obviously when you're on the Pro Tour, most of these guys don't choose to wear eyewear. Timmy wearing his signature glasses, of course. Now, me, I know I will always wear eyewear the rest of my life. I had a traumatizing experience as a wee lad on court, messing around, faffing about, quite frankly, and no eyewear. Got absolutely walloped by the ball, tore my retina. Was out of commission for about a month, and ever since I've never stepped foot on a squash court for competitive play without a pair of goggles. So to all the juniors out there, keep that eyewear. Keep that eyewear on your face. Never know, it could save your life, your vision. And that's beautiful wit from Timmy. Everything clicking for the Crushers here in the second period. We've yet to see Luama Chaleshi since the beginning of period 1. Here he is. Trying to maybe, not even necessarily. Oh, Timmy, cheeky. Read him like a book. Excellent shift from Timmy, not just because of his on-court play, but also, far more importantly, because of his antics and his shenanigans and celebrations. Really nicely done from him. And here comes Simon Herbert. This should be a fun matchup. As I was just saying, this is the first we've seen of Chaleshi since the very opening of the first period, first 8 or so minutes of the match. Crushers, of course, sporting all white here tonight. The Cobra logo. Red, white, and blue colorway for the Crushers. I love the decision to accompany the white jerseys with the white shorts here tonight. And Luama and Herbert perhaps exchanging some words there. Minimal effort to play through that interference from Herbert. He knew it would be no let. But it doesn't seem to matter too much So Nashville just absolutely rolling here in period number 2. For the Tornadoes, of course, that baby blue jersey. Maybe a little too dark for baby blue, but not too well versed in the different shades of blue. Ocean blue, could it be? What type of white is that for the Crushers, by the way? Eggshell white, washing machine white, who knows? A little American Psycho reference for those who picked up on that. But the ocean blue, we'll go with that jerseys for the Tornadoes. Little white patches kind of on the shoulders. It's a nice little addition. And then the black shorts. Such drippy jerseys, but if you subscribe to the Deion Sanders school of thought of if you look good, you feel good, you play good, that might not necessarily be the case here for Atlanta, as this matchup here tonight has been all Nashville. Simon Herbert looking to close things out here. 3 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in period number 2. Really just a formality at this point. And guys, something worth noting here is once you have passed the 4-minute mark of a period, you're unable to call a power play anymore, as there's another point for Simon Herbert. So essentially, if there are 2 minutes left on the clock in a period, you can't just call a power play and ice out your opponent for the final 2 minutes of the period. You have to call your power play with over 4 minutes left in the period to leave at least 2 minutes of time remaining on the clock for the other team to have the opportunity to score points. Now Atlanta called their power play early in the period to try to stop the bleeding from the Crushers, and I believe Simon Herbert's taken the wrong line of the ball there. But he will be given a stroke. That ball did pop up for Chaleshi. Bit of a shocking call, though, if you're asking me. It's a tough angle to tell, however. But as we are at just under 3 minutes to go now in the second period, worth noting, Nashville has acquired this lead without even calling a power play. Atlanta did have the power play early on, and Nashville has essentially tripled up the score of the Tornadoes with the power play in their back pocket that they have not used and now are unable to use by NSL rule. It's another error for the Tornadoes. I'd love to know how many of those 33 points Nashville has won off of tins. It's got to be close to half, if not more. A lot of errors for the Tornadoes. It's just so tight from Herbert. And Chaleshi had no other choice but to play that ball. Stroke of fortune for him. And that's great width from Chaleshi. 90 seconds to go in the second period. Excuse me, we got 2.5 minutes. So my timer is incorrect. 2 minutes and 15 seconds, as you can see there. Chaleshi again. Chaleshi not really looking necessarily to win this period, but really just looking to get some momentum heading into the third that will carry over. Because this has been all Nashville. Maybe he's looking to close things out on 3 or 4 quality points and get his team fired up. For the third period, that's a pretty drop shot. Seen moments from Chaleshi. Those positive moments canceled out largely by errors. However, his teammates didn't do him any favors putting him in this situation to begin with. Obviously, we knew this would be a tough matchup for the Tornadoes coming in. Just looking at the world rankings of these players, Atlanta not at full strength without the #1 overall pick in the NSL draft, the gunslinger Yusuf Ibrahim, the world number 15 from Cairo, Egypt. Also without David Bayerjan playing at the Canadian Nationals this week in Quebec City. Without the Argentinian Jeremias Azania. little bit of a motley crew this week for the Tornadoes. They're doing all they can. But when you come up against the buzzsaw, that is Timmy Brownell and Nashville Crushers, especially in Nashville, Tennessee, can't be shocked at the result that we're playing witness to here tonight. 24 seconds remain in period number 2. Another error. Clock will stop when situation arises. The ball leaving court. But other than that, clock's not going to stop. That will conclude period number 2. Herbert gracious, letting Shaleshi walk off first, and Atlanta perhaps not happy with the way that second period went, but the beautiful part of the NSL is that as lopsided as this has been thus far, Atlanta has a fighting chance to tie things up in the third period, which is an extra 10 minutes long and worth an extra point. You have the opportunity to get a second point on the board here. Dylan Cunningham, the coach for the Nashville Crushers, telling the fans he does not want overtime. He wants to close things out with his team in regulation. Cunningham very instrumental in the coming together of the inaugural NSL draft, which took place in early March of this year in Nashville, Tennessee. Draft festivities kicked off Friday evening with the Team USA versus Team World exhibition match featuring some of the NSL's finest talents, including for Team USA, Timmy Brownell, who you're watching here tonight, Spencer Lovejoy, who was drafted a prompt 24 hours later by the Newport Dragons, a man by the name of Andrew Douglas, the University of Pennsylvania graduate, man who played number 1 on the ladder for Penn all 4 years in his time there. Drafted with the first pick of the second round by the Chicago Grizzlies. Douglas and Lovejoy doing battle last night in North Division action. The Newport Dragons coming out on top at home at the St. George's School in Newport, Rhode Island by a score of 3-1. It was knotted up heading into that third period, which Newport took to advance to 1-0 on the season. Chicago 0-1 on the year. Chicago will have their home match in a few weeks here at the University Club of Chicago. Beautiful venue that I've had the opportunity to play at a number of times in the past. And for Team World in that exhibition was Victor Crouin, the Frenchman, the highest-ranked player in the National Squash League, the second overall pick in the National Squash League draft this year for the Derby City Colts. World number 11 was Yusuf Ibrahim, the man that we've mentioned a few times here tonight, a member of the Atlanta Tornadoes roster, but not able to make it here tonight. You better believe he'll be at the NSL Finals come June if Atlanta finds themselves in position to play in that event. And then wrapping and capping things off for Team World in that matchup, Ramit Tandon from India, soon to be the highest ranked player from India on the PSA World Tour, following Saurav Ghosal after 20 years on the Pro Tour, recently announcing his retirement. The only player from India ever to reach the World Top 10 was Saurav Ghosal. We wish him a wonderful retirement. But Ramit Tandon, the torch has been passed to the 31-year-old, the former stockbroker in New York, turned squash professional after winning Ivy League Player of the Year at Columbia many moons ago. Helping lead Columbia to a national championship. Rare national championship for Columbia. Usually we have HYP, Harvard, Yale, Princeton out of the Ivy League. And then, of course, Trinity College. It's held a dynasty over the college squash world the last 30 years, winning 13 national championships in a row, and 17 total in that time frame. And then, of course, this year, the University of Pennsylvania, led by Minsois Gilly Lane, winning their first ever national championship. Huge for the Penn program. It was a great exhibition, and then we capped off the draft weekend festivities with the actual draft itself the following evening, Saturday night. It was a great event. It was a great celebration of the game of squash. And now I can't believe that here we are watching these players take the court in action. You know, Timmy Brownell has been waiting years for this moment, his first ever regular season NSL draft, league co-founder. This is his brainchild, along with Spencer Lovejoy and league commissioner Fernando Valdezon. He's watching it come to life here this evening. Certainly must be surreal for Timmy, as he will open up period number 3 against the Kiwi Luamba Cheleshi, the world number 122, taking on Timmy, the world number 37 and U.S. number 1. Former U.S. national champion, not current though, was upset in last year's U.S. national tournament. Andrew Douglas, currently holding the title of U.S. national champion. And he'll have to defend that title coming up here shortly, in about a month, at the Arlen Specter Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where Timmy is based and trains with U.S. national team coach Ong Beng Hee, who's done a fantastic job leading this next wave of U.S. squash professionals. Cheleshi getting on the board here in period number 2 and drawing even. Wamba would love a big start here. Taking on a player well over 50 spots ahead of him in the PSA World Tour rankings. He just plays so loose. It's just perfectly placed. Perhaps a little bit of topspin on that ball. Glued to the sidewall. Tough to get that back. 3-all in a must-win third period for the Atlanta Tornadoes as they take their first lead of the third frame. Atlanta looking to force a shootout. Nashville not wanting to spend any more time on court than they need to. Want to get out of here unscathed with a 4-0 victory. And worth noting too, the margin that a team wins by does matter, because of course this is a round robin situation when it comes to determining division winners. 3 teams in each division. So if all these teams beat each other, if Nashville's able to win here tonight but Derby City beats Nashville in a couple weeks, which is very plausible, it'll be a home match for Derby City. If that happens, then it'll come down to which teams won the most individual points. If Nashville can pick up a 4-0 victory here, maybe there's a little bit of pressure off of them when it comes to their matchup against Derby City. Because I believe in that case they would actually only need to score 1 point in that matchup to win the divisional championship, assuming they do come out on top with a 4-0 victory here today, and also assuming my math is correct, which is a big-time assumption, especially for an individual like myself who's majoring in cinema and journalism. Math, not my strong suit. ACT and English section, of course, killed it. Math, not so much. Science, not so much. A little rough around the edges for me. So, doing my best. So here comes Ronald Palomino on for Timmy Brownell. Remember, this third period, an extra 10 minutes, it's 30 minutes instead of 20, 50% longer, and each team granted an extra substitution. 3 substitutions per team here instead of the usual 2 for the first 2 20-minute periods. And that's soft touch from Mwamba. Look how close to the front wall he left that drop shot. Talk about feathering a ball in. And Atlanta hanging around in this third and all-important period for the Tornadoes. This is a brutal rally. Whoever comes out of this point on top is going to have a major surge in confidence. Interference. Streletsky has his racket bumped out of his hand. And a yes-let decision given. And he's gone for the nick off the serve return. And that is a perfectly placed ball. We've seen that from Streletsky a number of times. You saw it really a ton in that first period against Timmy Brownell. He did it probably 3 times, where when he gets his opponents out of position and when his opponents make an error and they hit the ball to him in the middle of the court, he's really able to put the ball away beautiful from the midline and off those loose shots. Has a knack for just hitting the ball with a perfect weight of shot when he has those loose opportunities. But it's just a matter of getting those chances for the Kiwi. As we're all knotted up at 8 apiece in the third frame of action here this evening from Nashville, Tennessee, the Montgomery Bell Academy. The Nashville Crushers looking to win their first regular season matchup of the year. 0-0, first time they've taken the court. Atlanta looking to advance to 2-0 and clinch the South Division. And Luamba Chaleshi with a 2-point lead for the Tornadoes. Palomino responds. The man from Bogota, Colombia, wasting no time, drawing the Crushers back within a point. Palomino from Cali, Colombia, excuse me. From Bogota is Atlanta's Pipe Herrera. this is just really some cat and mouse squash on full display here tonight. And Shaleshi, a great shift from him, a good 8.5 minutes. He draws the stroke for the Tornadoes and heads off. And that's the best 8-minute spurt of the evening for the Atlanta Tornadoes there. After a thumping in the second frame, Nashville winning 38-16 in period number 2. Atlanta completely turned things around. Up 2 now, as we're almost a third of the way through this extended period number 3. You've got to give flowers to Celia Pashley, the head coach watching on for the Atlanta Tornadoes. The back wall bows from Palomino. And a pretty drop shot. Ronald Palomino has really impressed me here this evening. Frankly, a young gentleman that I haven't seen much of, the number 145th ranked player in the world, but we know how talented he is. At a very young age, got up to world number 70 before that brutal Achilles rupture. Just under a year and a half ago. But now here he is, looking to put things away for the Crushers in the third period. And the stroke given to Pipe Herrera. And Atlanta, impressive to start period number 3. Another decision just to let that time. Herrera wanted the stroke. He will not get it. That ball clipping the tin for Palomino. And here comes Herrera. Herrera, of course, proud member of Bandana Gang, a dying breed in the squash world. He's representing for the young men and women like myself out there, still rocking the bandana. Of course, my bandana love started once again back when I was a wee lad. More story time with Jackson. So this is likely after I had torn my retina, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast. If you're just joining us, folks, you've missed a lot. You missed some exciting NSL action, but you've missed some great story time with Jackson Bragman on the call here tonight as Palomino draws the score even at 13. I went at 5 below. It's probably 7-8 years ago. And a sale, 10 bandanas for $10, and those were the first bandanas I purchased, and I have many of those bandanas still in my collection here at Denison here today. Frankly, those make up the majority of my collection, as I'm looking to expand this offseason. Palomino controlling the center of the court here. Got Herrera out of position and sent the ball cross court. Too much ground to cover there for the Colombian. Both these gentlemen from Colombia. Of course, different cities as we've covered. Herrera from Bogota, essentially the squash capital of Colombia's nation, trains with Colombian national team coach Martin Knight. Knight, of course, former player on the Pro Tour. And Ronald beats his chest and hypes up the crowd. You see, Ronald played many events for the Colombian national teams, knows Martin Knight well, but Herrera, his primary coach, Knight, the man from New Zealand, former top 40 player on the PSA World Tour in his own right. And just as Atlanta is beginning to perhaps fall behind a little bit, a big-time stroke is given to Herrera. He does not want to let this lead, small lead that he built up, slip away from him now. It's a great drop shot. We were treated to a beautiful angle on that ball.
Nashville sub.
Here's a substitution for the Crushers. Here comes Simon Herbert. Nashville using their second of 3 substitutions here in period number 3. Simon Herbert from Leicester, England. The Englishman, however, does not play a traditional English-style game. If I were to describe Simon Herbert to you in one sentence, the description I would give would be, as a man that does not like to play more than 2 straight drives in a row. As we see right there, he's gone for the nick, missed wildly, and there's a high arcing cross court, proving my point exactly. Loves to play the angles, loves to attack, not favorable to long rallies, but has hands that are out of this world. Only 22 years old, has reached world number 55 ranking on the PSA World Tour. Confusion. Pipe Hernandez ready to go. And folks, as an announcer, you can't ask for anything more than close, tight action, and that's exactly what we're being treated to here in the 3rd period. Nashville, convincing wins in the first 2 periods. But Atlanta hanging around here, looking to force an overtime shootout if they can somehow win this 3rd period. Atlanta major underdogs coming into this matchup. They're very short-handed without their top several players, including the number 1 overall pick in the NSL draft this year, Yusuf Ibrahim, the gunslinger. World number 15, not in action for Atlanta here tonight, but the Tornadoes holding their own. As we have crept past the halfway point of period number 3. And Pipe Herrera has Atlanta in prime position. Makes a costly error there, though. Herbert taking his time with the service box. Just a little bit there. Taxing rally. Both these players starting to look a little bit fatigued, especially Herrera, who's far less fresh than Herbert. This is a long shift for him. You imagine that Atlanta's going to look to make a substitution here in the next couple minutes. Worth noting, neither team has called a power play yet. Each team, as we're now past halfway through this 3rd period, with a 2-minute power play remaining. So we'll see what strategy comes into play for Coach Celia Pashley for the Tornadoes, Coach Dylan Cunningham for the Crushers when it comes to the utilization of said power plays. And guys, we have not seen a shootout yet in NSL action. This is my 4th match on the call. And I've been witness to 2 3-1 results and a 4-0 result. I've yet to see a match tied up at 2 apiece, where it came down to a shootout. That will be nothing short of epic here tonight. Simon Herbert there. He's gone for another nick attempt, and he misses. But it took a weird hop for Lacroix, not able to pick that ball back up. And that's a pretty shot from Herbert and a great dig. But Simon Herbert putting some major topspin onto that backhand to put the ball away. And Atlanta defending the power play here from Nashville. Make or break moment for the Tornadoes. If they can hold strong, if they can extend these rallies. There's an error from Herbert. Lacroix is going to take his time here. Herbert so dangerous on the attack, on the prowl. There he goes. If Atlanta can hang on here, they find themselves in great position to pull off a shocking victory in the third frame and force a shootout where anything can happen. Lacroix from Santiago, Chile. And Herbert! Apologize for that audio spike, but unbelievable. That was a great serve from Lacroix. And to find the nick on that ball, oh my goodness. We mentioned earlier, he is not your attritional English-style player. When Simon Herbert takes the ball in short, he does not feather it into the full court like a James Willstrop, like a Nick Matthew, like a Charlie Lee even, like the Englishman that you're conditioned watching in pro squash. Simon Herbert, almost an Egyptian-esque playing style, likes to flatten the ball into the forecourt. Plays with a lot of power, a lot of fire. Uses his angles, uses deception so well. Decision. A yes let given. That ball loose from Herbert. But it did feel like he maybe had some room to play. So we're nearing the third and final act of the third and final period of play here tonight. Coming down the stretch of Week 2 action here in the National Squash League. Matthias Lacroix, Simon Herbert, doing battle here at the Montgomery Bell Academy in Nashville, Tennessee, and Atlanta is on the power play. Atlanta has called their power play, now down 5. Simon Herbert, that's why he was drafted in the third round by the Nashville Crushers, so effective on the power play. But let's see how he can defend the power play. Simon Herbert, much better at attacking and putting the ball in short than he is at extending rallies. And there's Lacroix. Celia Pashley is out of her seat, banging the glass like we're watching the college squash championships right now. And that's the feel that you're getting here in NSL action. Minimal interference. And it should have been a no-let in my opinion, but a let granted. Or was it? Confusion once again, but Lacroix's got to go. He has to make the most of these 2 minutes. Simon Herbert cannot score on the power play. Herbert's job to extend these rallies as much as possible. It doesn't matter if he wins points. It just matters if he, as long as he prevents Lacroix from winning as many points as possible. There's an error from Herbert. Costly. Herbert's got to keep the ball above the tin. Lacroix eager for a decision, and he gets a stroke. And this is proving to lead to a thrilling finish here from Nashville, Tennessee. High IQ play from Lacroix. That ball stuck in the back corner. Instead of trying to dig it out, Lacroix says, nope, take the point. You're not going to score. Let's reset, and I'm going to try to find a better attacking opportunity. Really smart from Lacroix in his first NSL match ever. Great to see that high IQ play. And as we're nearing the end of the power play, Lacroix takes a tumble. We're almost back even once again. Eight minutes to go in the third period. Nashville up 2. The power play over. Both teams so much to play for, looking to come out of the South Division, looking to book their spot in the NSL Finals come June. Herbert with great width on the cross. Extends Nashville's lead out to 3. Remember, in 20 minutes, Nashville hung 38 points on Atlanta. You're now about 23 minutes into this third period. Of course, third period 10 minutes longer than the first two. Nashville only with 27. Big-time improvements from the Tornadoes here tonight. Atlanta without a player ranked in the top 100 on their active roster. Short-handed, but they have battled their behinds off to give themselves a shot. But Herbert caps off a great shift for the Crushers, extending Nashville's lead back out to 4. And here comes the second power play of the period for Nashville. Both teams get a 2-minute power play and a 1-minute power play in the third period. Another difference between the first two periods and the third period. Nashville has a minute to win as many points as they can. Quickly here, Timmy Brownell, obviously league founder, helped write the rules of this format. Played in the initial NSL beta exhibition match a year ago, almost to the date, when this league was just an idea. And on that day in May of 2023, it became a real, tangible concept. And here Timmy is in his first regular season NSL match on the power play, on the prowl, claiming his first point.
Last point.
Of the power play. And this will be the final point of the 1-minute power play. No need for Timmy to rush here. And that'll conclude the power play. Atlanta down 5, but still with a 1-minute power play in their back pocket. Wamba Chaleshi back on for Atlanta. He opened up the third period, and he's going to close it out. After valiant shifts from Pipe Herrera and Matias Lacroix, here is the Kiwi and world number 122, Wamba Chaleshi, trying to play hero for the Tornadoes. Just over 4.5 minutes to go. Chaleshi has a lot of work to do, and the clock not necessarily a factor at this juncture, but in another 60 seconds he's going to have to start thinking that way. Right now, just trying to win in this point the best way he can. At some point, time does become a factor with Nashville up 6, their biggest lead of this third period. And Celia Pashley telling Luama to let this point go. Once again, recognizing that the clock is a factor, this point going on, and Timmy just extending. And there finally he comes out on top. And I think that Celia Pashley wanted Luamba to let that point go so Atlanta could call their final power play. However, with under 4 minutes to go in the third period, Atlanta now unable to call that power play. 1-minute power play in their back pocket. Pashley heads up coaching there, but nothing she can do. Yelling at Luamba. Luamba, of course, fighting valiantly, trying to lead this comeback. But got caught up in the moment, and that could be a costly error for the Tornadoes. Huge points. Atlanta in major trouble if they don't win this rally here, but if they do, there is still life for the Tornadoes. Timbo Slice with a flick of the wrist. He's gone for the nick. No good, and we play on. Cat and mouse squish. Timmy has gone for the reversal. The crowd in the palm of his hand. They would have lost their minds there, but the real story, back to the match. Atlanta only down 4. Plenty of life for the Tornadoes as we have just crept under the 2-minute mark, and that is a huge point for Timmy. A massive fist pump, signature fist pump for him. 2 minutes and 5 seconds remain. And now Chaleshi's got to go fast. He needs 5 points in 1 minute and 50 seconds. Timmy with a little mid-court corkscrew. Another one. And it's too damn good. We've seen him bust that corkscrew out in the Beta exhibition match in Louisville a year ago, and in the Team World versus Team USA exhibition match 2 months ago from this very venue in Nashville, Tennessee, as Luamba commits another error, and that may do it. Timmy loves that corkscrew, in addition to a number of times we've seen him play that on the PSA World Tour. And in a big-time moment here in NSL action, he pulls it off again. And Nashville, Tennessee, stand up, because the Crushers have an opportunity to head to Derby City in 13 days in complete control of their own destiny. A win will clinch the South Division for this team, and they will book a spot if they're able to come out on top against Victor Cruin and the Derby City Colts at the Louisville Boat Club. If they're able to pull off a win there, they'll book their spots. The NSL Finals in June, Philadelphia at the Arlen Specter Center. So we are under 30 seconds to play. This final rally is merely a formality, as Chaleshi with some hands here's the final point. The men in white, victorious. Atlanta falls to 1-1 on the season, a 4-0 win last week at home against Derby City. This week they fall 4-0 to Nashville. Short-handed, they fought valiantly, but this Nashville team too strong. And I liked what I saw from not only Timmy Brownell and Simon Herbert, but also the man from Cali, Colombia, saying Dale Dale, as Nashville pulls off the win. Ronald Palomino looked in great form here this evening. Of course, Nashville not at 100% full strength, even though they were pretty close here tonight, without Juanca Vargas, another Colombian, another Bogota native, and a Trinity College graduate, played under that Paul Asiante coaching tree. Obviously, Nashville would love to have Vargas back for their next matchup, but if they don't, they definitely have a young stud in Palomino, who held his own here tonight. A group effort. Great contributions from every individual on this roster. Simon Herbert, lethal on the power play. And of course, this team led by the number 3 overall pick in this year's NSL draft, league co-founder, and on-court standout, Timothy Slim Tim, Brownell rose to the occasion today in his first ever regular season NSL match and now finds himself one win away from the Spectre Center in June. What a night from Nashville. Great effort, both parties. We're getting set for post-match interviews here from Montgomery Bell Academy. Congratulations to Dylan Cunningham as well, the winning head coach, the pro here at this brand new high school facility here in Nashville, Tennessee, doing his part to grow squash domestically across the United States, stretching it to the South. We need more high school and college programs in the southern states to encourage young American kids to get involved in this game that we all love and support. But the story of tonight, the Nashville Crushers coming out on top. Atlanta, their regular season is done. However, a 4-0 sweep over Derby City a week ago could be enough for them to make the NSL Finals in June. They're going to have to sit back and watch as the Colts are going to take on Nashville. They need a Colts victory to have a chance to play for the NSL Finals, for the NSL Championship. 7 weeks from tonight. Nashville in control of their own destiny. A great performance from them, and they look good doing it, rocking the all-white.
They need to tell Jackson.
And there's Ashby. I hear him telling someone that I need to be cut off. Ashby Howard, huge shout out to him, Louisville native. Been very instrumental in all of these broadcasts throughout the season, coming together. And give a shout out to Lee Scott as well. Of course, Fernando Valdezon, league commissioner. So many people responsible for bringing this product to you guys on this stream. So shout out to Squash TV as well. Tried new style for the broadcast here tonight. Less bells and whistles than what we had last night with our usual Pro Fly production team at the St. George's School in Newport, Rhode Island. But a great broadcast nonetheless, smooth, seamless. We're making my job easy as could be. Shout out to my friend Sean Choi. Not able to join us on commentary tonight, but he will be back in 2 weeks for week 3 of NSL action, where we will have 2 hard-hitting matchups coming at you. What a great win for the Nashville Crushers. 4-0, a clean sweep over the Atlanta Tornadoes. For my whole team here at the National Squash League, once again, a huge thank you to all of them. My name is Jackson Bragman. Thank you for watching week 2 of NSL action. Don't go anywhere. We have live interviews coming up on court in just a few moments with both the winning Nashville Crushers and the losing Atlanta Tornadoes. Don't go anywhere. And huge thanks once again for joining us for week 2 of NSL action.
because if you hold the lead later in the period, the other team has to force it. They feel like you've got to come back and start against the clock. So I'd say being steady, especially early in the period. I think, these guys, it was all their first time playing, and we saw it early in the period. You saw them, the adrenaline was pumping, and it really takes the juice out of your legs. I thought that's what we did well today. We stayed calm and steady, especially players just play like that. So it helped us. But yeah, that's probably the biggest piece of advice is don't panic. Because it'll pay dividends later in the periods. When the clock is up, when you're up against the clock.
Yeah.
Was it part of your strategy to run the clock down in the third period?
We talked about this, and Timmy brought this up. Timmy knows all the rules. Timmy brought this up in our pregame meeting, and I said, Timmy, that'll never matter. And then with 4:30 on the clock, I was like, oh my God, Timmy, come on, keep going. And you heard me say, keep going, keep going, keep going. So it should have been more part of our pregame strategy. I guess it is important, and it'll probably come up again. And luckily, we talked about it briefly. So when Timmy saw us saying keep going, and he looked at the clock, he kind of figured out before Wemma did of what was going on. And it was just 1 or 2 seconds, because that point ended at 3:58, and that secured our